Jonathan Ross Show. Let's get sitting down. Let's get relaxed. OK, you know, I have got the easiest job in the world tonight. You know why? Because of the guests. We've got probably the best lineup we could possibly have. Let's show you who's on the show tonight. First up, he's not just a stand-up comedian, a TV and film star. He's a freshly minted revolutionary. It's Mr. Russell Brand, ladies and gentlemen. My next guest is a Hollywood star who's winning rave reviews for a West End debut in Speed the Plough. It's Lindsay Lohan. Also on the programme tonight, one of the biggest film stars in the world and just a lovely, lovely guy, Mr. Daniel Radcliffe. Plus, we've got a football legend, former England captain, yes, you know it, Rio Ferdinand. Rio, I'm so good here. Thank you for coming. And not only that, we also have fabulous, great music for you this evening. Here performing live are the Script, ladies and gentlemen. There's the Script fans in the front row. OK, before that, we've all heard, of course, that dogs can start to look like their owners. I've often been compared to mine, and always favourably, I might add. Have a look at him. This is my Snowball. This is Professor Snowball. See, he's a fine-looking fella. Look, big, strong chest. Well-developed shoulders, handsome features, loyal, honest to a fault. And also, I even look like him when we're asleep, because this is a very similar... That's, So it's a lovely thought, but sometimes the likeness between man and beast can be cruel. I found a picture this week of a dog, and you tell me if I'm imagining this, but I think he looks just like Nigel Farage. Terrible. What a terrible thing for the poor animal to have to live with. I think he probably understands 3 commands. Here, sit, and stay out of Europe. A little bit of satire there for you. Here's a picture of Vladimir Putin, OK? The Russian fella. And here is a picture of, I assume, must be his dog. There's no way this isn't his dog. There's no way that is not his dog. But, you know, it's not just dogs. Someone pointed this out to me as well. We were talking about this in office. They said, I have a photograph you're going to love. It's an alpaca that looks exactly like Boris Johnson. We haven't touched that photograph. That's how that animal looks. Boris is the one on the right, by the way, just in case you're... Should we get my first guest out, ladies and gentlemen? That's why we're all here. It's always a thrill when he's on the show. Called stand-up TV film. He's conquered them all. Will you please welcome Mr. Russell Brand. Good to see you. Good to have you here. Come and sit down. You look... Russell, you look great. You look great.
Thank you.
I've got to be honest, because sometimes you look like you need a bath, but you look great. You know what I'm saying? You really are sort of scrubbing yourself up really well these days.
I was never actually dirty. It was just the implication of dirt because of some of the activity. You thought that maybe a film would develop.
Yeah.
But, no, I was always clean. Can I have some of that water?
No, because that's like water for show. That is like...
Show
you
water?
can have it. Well, OK. If you want to have some, I think
How long's it been there, mate?
Months. But let's... Yeah, let's have some water.
Oh, God. Is it really water, at least?
Yeah.
Oh, that feels better.
OK, let me talk about your new book, and let's talk about where you are in your life.
All right.
And can I call this a message? Do you feel you have a message that you want to share with the world? Is that what this book is about? Is that what you are about right now?
This is tough, this, Jonathan, because I don't want to seem like one of them people that takes themselves too seriously. God, I hate those people.
Yeah.
But all it is this. I'm from Grays in Essex. You might know what that means. It's Grays in Essex. Some of you are from there. And look, that's as much energy as they're going to be able to summons up. Cough their way through life. Oh, Grace, what's the point? I go back there to open a charity shop. I'm not saying I'm the new Jesus. And then when I go back to the charity shop, I felt ever so down because I thought, what's this mental health charity shop? It was Mind, as a matter of fact. I thought, this should be getting taken care of on a different level. This charity shop's not going to solve the mental health problems that I can see in this room, just my own personal ones. Selling a few porcelain figures and a couple of dishcloths. It's going to take a lot more than that to deal with my bloody mental illness, let me tell you. And then all the people outside where I'm from, in the town where I'm from, everyone looked right down in the dumps, not just because I was there. Don't say nothing sarky, I'm trying to make a point, right? And then I thought, all the while I've been off, getting famous, filleting myself into a state of wonder, yeah? I thought, this has all been going on behind my back. People getting all down in the dumps around Grays. So I thought, oh, I've been ever so distracted. I better do something about it. So I wrote this bloody great big, lovely long book about it's not really fair. Because, like, we're all getting distracted. Oh, it's probably because of immigrants. It's probably because of gays. But it ain't. It's because some people have took all of the money. I know, because I've got a bit of it.
Yeah. That last sentence sums the book up quite neatly, I think. Because a lot of what you say is right, which is that and I think we all know this deep down, but we don't do anything about it, is the system that we all live in and we live under, it does benefit a few more than it does the many. Yeah. And for some reason we accept that. But the question I think people want to ask you when they hear you talk about this, and I know you've been asked this, I know you don't necessarily know, but it still needs to be asked this, what do we put in its place? Why are we in this situation?
I do know.
For example, well, you say you don't vote, you've never voted, and you never will vote. OK, so how do we change things if we don't use the system that exists now? And if we are going to have a revolution, is it going to be a scary one?
It shouldn't be scary, no, it should be sexy. Now, the thing that I think is... what I think is really interesting is if I say this sentence, don't vote, there's no one worth voting for, the thing that everyone's focused on is the don't vote bit. But the interesting bit is there's no one worth voting for. That's the bit that's important. How come, like, none of us want the NHS dismantled. No one here is going, oh, I'll get rid of it. Right, none of us do, and yet it's happening. None of us want a political class that are distracted from us. None of us want corporations that are artificially subsidised and held together. None of us want that, and yet it's happening. No one in Parliament will say, oh, it's all right, we'll represent you, we'll stick up for the normal people. So when some mug like Farage turns up, we're all so distracted that we go, oh, we all do, he looks like a dog.
Well, I feel bad that I've given him that to run on now, the whole dog thing. Because people love dogs, I feel bad. But, you know, you say none of us want it, but, of course, there are some people who are benefiting from that.
So that's
some
not
people
democracy, is it? Yeah. Democracy means that if you vote, it makes a difference. It's not like... what I think is the important part of that sentence is give us something worth voting for. Give us parties that represent us. Give us ordinary working people, which I'm loaded now, you're loaded. Neither of us was born loaded. We rinsed it. We've had a break here or there. You were luckier than me. At least I've got the acting. I'm joking, you're well talented. I love you, you know I love you. I said that so the audience would like me. They think, he's with us, that guy. But, like, what I'm saying is like, I'm not perfect. It's not like hello, I'm Russell Brand, I'm perfect. Well, what I'm saying is, I've noticed that there's a lot of snidiness going on. I've put it down in this book. I've put alternative systems from experts, not me. I didn't dream one up chewing a crayon. I spoke to people who already, oh, we should do this, Ducky Poos. No, that's Count Duckula. I asked people that already know, and there's loads of alternatives. The people that say there's no alternatives are the people that benefit from it staying the same. There's a massive blag going on. It's hard to get this out on the television because the television's part of it.
Let's focus on that, because I tell you what's interesting here, and I think there is a danger in this kind of message.
There is danger. There should be danger.
There is a danger in this kind of message in some of the people that you quote in this book, that we focus on this kind of somewhat nebulous concept of...
It's not nebulous.
Yes, it is. I haven't signed on to this conspiracy. That's what I mean by it being nebulous. So I might be part of the problem, and I might be part of the kind of distraction. But at the same time, I think there are issues which you talk about in here very clearly and very specifically. For example, like people who don't pay tax. And that's an issue in here, which is a very easy one.
Pay your tax, you slags.
OK.
It's hard because it's like we swim in the aquarium of capitalism. So the system itself needs to change or we're all fucked. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to stop wearing sexy jewellery and lovely jackets. I don't know down the line. But it would be nice if the people with most contribute to the society. There's this myth that these people make themselves. They don't. Their workers are educated at schools paid for by our taxes and they don't want to contribute when it comes to top-up time.
This is very clear and straightforward, I think. I can see
I'm furious!
Say, and we're talking about...
I'm so angry I've got an erection.
Always a winner. If we're talking about, you know, institutions or bodies that we all agree are pretty much a good thing, like the National Health Service, which I think we all have a great sense of pride in, there's certainly, and if that's being defunded, maybe deliberately by the current government, who knows? If that is the case, then certainly the taxes that we would get from these companies which are avoiding what we see as their basic responsibility, that could certainly sort that out.
That's an interesting reform, but there is no party that stands for that.
If that were to happen, though, that wouldn't be what you want, because that wouldn't fix what you've seen as a kind of deeper malaise in society.
That's right. What I feel is the important thing, it's not just like an economic issue. You don't want to come to me for economic advice.
Certainly
Look at me. I'm an idiot.
Not.
Look at my trousers.
But you're not an idiot, but at the same time, I understand you're not someone who's speaking with a degree of authority. But then who are the people? They're the people who are part of what you see as this problem.
There's loads of people in here. Like, the first thing I discovered is that they need us to believe that there's no alternative. As long as we believe there's no alternative, we'll shut up. As long as we're grateful that we're not being butchered in the streets and that there's the threat of Islam and there's the threat of gays and there's all sorts of threats and immigrants have taken our jobs, then we'll sit down and we'll shut up because we don't think there's an alternative. But there are thousands of ways to run societies. There's thousands of ways for people to run their own communities and their own places of work. And in this book, there are examples of truly democratic communities. When I talk about revolution, I'm not talking about some crazy communist thing. I'm talking about democracy, what we're told we already have. Something where people can control their own lives, their own communities, their own workplaces, and more importantly, as Jonathan has just inferred, live with dignity. We're human beings. They're taking away our right to live in communities, to live with passion, and to have leisure time, and to love one another. We're being striped up and marked off and turned into passive little consumers, and I've had enough.
Well, I'm not going to say anything smart-ass after that. I'm going to let that, because I believe that's a lovely thing. Let's talk about you and where you are in your life right now, because last time you came on the show, and I'm not going to go deep in your personal life, because I know you probably won't want to do that, and obviously, who really knows? You probably don't know what's going on inside you on that level, I don't think. But,
it's crazy in here!
Yeah, but you came on, and you came on with your lovely
Brian
dog,
the
Brian.
dog.
Yeah, and this was your partner's dog at the time, and I, perhaps unkindly, I didn't mean to be, I said, oh, what would happen if you split up? Will you get custody? Who will get custody of the dog? And now you aren't.
Well, now we know. It ain't me.
So, but you do
I just walk around with a limp lead.
Oh, that's about the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Wait till you see what I do when I get home with the same lead.
Oh, no.
None of those things are real.
Do you have visitation rights? Can you see Brian? Because you were very, very... That dog was a lovely, beautiful animal, and you were very close, and I could see Brian loved you too.
Well, you just got... What you got to do? Life's hard, isn't it? You know, you jog on. You sort it out, you move on, you focus, you think, well, that didn't work out, I've lost that dog, we're going to have to overthrow the government.
So this is the new Brian. This is Brian Mark II. Walk around with your dog on a lead. OK, and so we've kind of covered that. You've got another book out as well, and here's what's interesting. I didn't know you had this. You've got a children's book out. Or
yes.
It's kind of a young adult book, I guess, a young...
Really young, like tiny little adults like that.
It's a retelling, it's a retelling of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, but interestingly, the message in there and what you're saying in there, that's kind of in here as well.
Yes.
So it's obviously permeating your whole life, all you do at the moment.
Yeah, because really, for me, what's important is interconnectivity and kindness. And someone told me once, don't bother with adults too much, they're all like everyone's knackered. Tell children. So I thought, I'll write that kids' book and put the same messages in there so children sort of grow up thinking, I don't trust David Cameron, his face is like a painted egg.
That's the message that you want people to take away from the book.
And don't trust any authority figures, any.
Well, you have to trust some, don't you?
No. Maybe your mum. Yeah.
So, OK, and so you're meditating a lot these days, is that right?
Not too much, because otherwise they said I'd lose touch with reality shit! No, like just 20 minutes twice a day and some yoga, not as much as the Dalai Lama.
And that helps you what? Reset yourself, helps you keep away from temptation? Because you've been clean of drugs and booze for how long now?
It'll be 12 years on December the 13th.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible, that's quite something.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Because I'm enjoying your company tonight, and you seem a more thoughtful person on the show this evening than you've been beforehand, perhaps I've given you... Well, you know exactly what I mean. So I'm going to ask Russell to stick around with the other guests, ladies and gentlemen, if that's OK with you. So will you stick out here with us? Russell Brand, ladies and gentlemen, he'll be here for much of the rest of the evening. Don't go anywhere. But after the break, we'll be joined out here by Lindsay Lohan. There's also Daniel Radcliffe, Rio Ferdinand, and we have music from the script, so don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Russell Brand is still here with us, but we're going to get our next guest out. She burst onto the screens as a child actor in movies like Freaky Friday and The Parent Trap. Her first grown-up role was in Mean Girls, which is still one of my all-time favourite comedies. Since then, she's been in and out of the headlines for any number of reasons, but I'm pleased to say she's currently in the papers for the rave reviews she's got for her role in the West End stage show Speed the Plough. Will you please welcome Lindsay Lohan? Coming on. Lovely to have you here. Here's Russell, I don't know if you met.
No, I've missed you, but I'm going to go now.
You come over here. Don't be scared. He's kind of shouty, but in a fun, friendly way.
Did you see the distance on the sofa?
Okay. Now, it's lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, West End, on stage, in Speed the Plough. Is this I believe, your first time in a play, your first time in theatre like this?
Yes, my first time in a play ever. And in theatre, and in the West End, and especially, you know, a Mammoth play, which is not the easiest.
Yeah, it's quite fast, quite wordy, quite strange.
Yeah, but once you get used to it, it becomes, you know, more comfortable.
Okay, how are you finding the experience? How are you finding the routine? How are you finding the fact that you have to... Is it 8 shows a week you're doing? 8
shows a week, yeah. It's interesting because it's not the kind of... I personally don't think it's the right play to have a Wednesday matinee because it's a bit crass, and it gets a bit vulgar.
Why is that? Because of the language and the dialogue and yep.
And the story of it is, you know, 2 producers in Hollywood that are kind of, you know, making a bet to sleep with a pretty much innocent girl who really has no idea of what's going on. And she reads this book. I don't know if it would be your book, Russell, but it changes her life.
Well, it's a revolutionary book.
It is very revolutionary.
It's a similar book, I guess.
Sounds quite like it.
Yeah. And,
no, I will say one thing, is that when Oprah gave me this book by Michael J. Singer called The Untethered Soul.
We just enjoy that moment, because not many people can say, when Oprah gave me this book. So, you're friends with Oprah. She's kind of, she's looking out for you a bit, isn't she?
She's been a bit like a second mother to me, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So this book actually did kind of change my it took me out of the situations that I put myself in life and allowed me to just stop and say, okay, what have I been doing wrong?
So is this so the play, the message in the play also strikes a chord with you in what you want to do with your life now, which is
yes, in a lot of ways.
So because you must be, you know, because the preconception I guess people still have about you, which you obviously turn in.
I love to hear this all the time.
Well, you must, because I went to see the play on a Saturday matinee. I mentioned this to you beforehand, and they came out, and there was a protest in town. I think it was an NUT protest, so traffic was terrible. It's always trouble in the West End. And the man came out before and said, we're starting the show a little bit late because Lindsay's a little bit late. And my first thought was, oh yeah, you know, I thought maybe you'd fallen off and you'd got back into bad behaviour, or you were late because you were, but you were genuinely stuck in traffic. And they said she'll be here in 5–10 minutes, and it did. It started 5–10 minutes.
No, I was actually, I was panicking in the car, and I was going to get out of the car. And it would have been silly to just run all the way up because my security guard would have killed me. But it was a strange thing because, you know, you have someone in the show that is understudying for you, and I see this girl standing outside, and she's just waiting. And we fly past her, and she's like, fuck. And I was like, look, this is my show. I'm never missing a show. That will never happen.
And, you know, I asked Russell this thing about, and I was genuinely, because Russell's been, it's 12 years, you were saying, just about.
It will be, hopefully, 12 years on the 13th December.
Okay.
If I don't do anything unusual.
If I don't keep talking about it. Lindsay, how long have you been clear of what you saw as the problems in your life?
I mean, for me, it was more of taking myself out of, and I really do mean this, out of Los Angeles, getting back to my family and my roots, and then being able to take care of myself. So several years, but it was more about getting, I needed to find a spiritual connection, and I never really had that in the past, and that was really important to me. And taking control of my life rather than just kind of surrounding myself with distractions and people and things and noise. So once I'm able to shut the noise off, I'm good. So I've stayed in that for a while.
So being a star from such an early age, because you were modelling from when you were 3, you made, when was Parent Trap? You were 11, I think, when you made that?
10.
10 when you made that. And
Here
it was
in London.
A tremendous performance in that. I loved you in that film, and I can see why you became a star on the back of that. But, you know, being a star from that age, did that, and having people around you, I guess in Hollywood, maybe the wrong people, is that what caused you to spiral out of control? Is that what kind of got you into trouble, do you think? Or do you think that would have happened regardless of
I don't think you could ever blame it on anyone else but yourself. I think that, you know, I grew up in a very tumultuous family. And then I found peace and kind of, you know, acting is therapy for me. It's more of, if it's not fun and I don't enjoy it and I'm not using kind of the work that I've been given and using my emotions through another character for someone to learn from and see on screen, then I feel like I'm not doing my job that I'm supposed to do here. So that was an outlet for me, and that's kind of why I did it. When I lost that outlet and I felt pressured into doing it, I've been doing so much for so long, I kind of just snapped, and I was like, and I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't going home. And you know, people usually are going to college or uni at that time. I didn't have that experience. So those were those years, and I was like, look, I'm a real person. I've done this. How can I fix it, and what can I do?
Do you find...
You do a David Mamet play again.
Yeah, well, there you are. But you're over here, and you're doing something different in your life, and you're leading a different life.
Yeah,
And that's
you grow
obviously...
up,
You've
you know,
made a break
you learn.
from that circumstances and that situation, and you're in a entirely forward. Are you single at the moment?
Yes.
Okay. Are you looking for a partner, or you're not?
I'm looking for sticking with myself and just focusing on work.
Oh, good. So that is probably better for you right now not to be with someone.
I wouldn't say it's... I'm just not looking for it.
Okay. No, I just wondered. Because Russell's normally looking for it, aren't you, Russell?
Right, I've sat on this setting, I've been good as gold. We'll sit Russell there for a bit, and when the opportunity arises, we'll mug him off.
No.
I feel like
I
feel like her understudy. I've sat around here for hours thinking, she'll get pissed in a minute.
But, you know, it's good that you're together here because you do have much in common. You've both been through that period. You've both been through...
Do we, Jonathan?
Yes, you've both
You
been...
decided, have you?
Yes, I have decided.
You're going to do an arranged marriage?
No,
Why
no,
we
no.
can't Have you got a dog? I don't know what that they give you.
But when you went... Russell, you went to rehab. You didn't go through choice at first, did you? Your manager sent you there,
I was
didn't he?
forced into that rehab.
Okay.
Me too. I was just court-ordered.
OK. So...
Prison.
You see what I'm
2
saying?
years or more. It's very different.
Again, but you've been in prison only
You
overnight,
can't school
haven't
me
you?
on this one, Russell.
I'm not trying to educate you on how to be a lunatic.
I'm not asking.
No, I've got into some trouble, but it's been... Well, that's friendly.
Yeah.
If I meant it, you'd know about it.
Oh, my goodness.
But you've never been jailed for your behaviour.
No,
You
sometimes
nearly...
they would leave me in police cells for a while, and I didn't like that very much. It's tiresome in there, it's lonely, it's hard to build rapport. Like New Orleans, in New Orleans, it's worse getting arrested in your country than mine. When I was arrested in New Orleans, everyone else had an orange boiler suit on. I felt so left out.
And so it's tougher than being here. Here it's not as serious.
The police are so much more friendly. For a start, in our country, we cuff the hands in front, not behind the back.
Oh, yeah, they don't do that.
The police cars all crunched up in there. They took all my drugs from me. In fact, it's boring in the cell. That's when you need drugs.
Yeah.
Take the edge off. Cruel, really.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
And they're the people that's in charge. Revolution.
I was actually in solitary confinement for 14 days.
And is that to keep you away
That's
from
too
the...
long.
Is that to keep you away...
Solitary confinement's very different. You leave yourself for 1 hour a day and you don't go outside.
But is that a good...
And I don't think anyone knows that, but it's very... The other girls in the other cells were in there for murder.
So that's why they had you in solitary, to keep you away
They
from
said it was for safety purposes.
Yeah.
I said, what am I going to do?
Well, maybe they were.
The others, Lindsay, the others on you.
Yeah.
I said, I made a mistake. I went to a club, and then I drank and I drove home, and that's not the right thing to do. But to put someone in that position it was very scary. It was very jarring.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The weirdest part was, for me, is that I have finally had silence in my life.
So it was good for you in some ways.
As terrified as I was, and as, scared as I was, I finally felt like I didn't have to answer to anyone. I didn't have to do anything for anyone.
So
That was the weirdest part of it.
You were free from the odd responsibility that you felt when you had other people
Yeah.
milling around you. Well, so it was, in a way, a good thing then?
2 days would have been enough.
Yeah. And you had 14 days in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what do you want to do in the future then? This play ends end of November, and if you haven't seen her, go and get some tickets now, because it's a rare chance to see Lindsay on stage at the moment. Do you have a plan after that? You're going to stay here in the UK, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about your family? Do you miss them when you're over here?
Yeah, they were just here. But it's nice to kind of be on my own.
And do
Nice to start fresh.
Do you feel you can be like a regular person? Or is there
Yeah.
still... Because there's still that thing, people still go... I mean, when I went to see the play, I got the feeling that a lot of people were there for the play, but most people, I got the feeling, were there to see you. So there's still that star thing, which obviously works in your favour in some ways.
Yeah, but I'd rather only work in my favour for my work that I do.
Yeah.
And I'd rather use it for bringing awareness to charities and foundation and CSV, these people that I work with who are volunteering for children, you know, that have been abused. That I'd rather use it for now. Whereas before, I wasn't in the right headspace. I didn't have anyone guiding me, especially myself, at 17 and 18 years old.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm 28 now. 10 years ago.
Of course, you were a
I
kid.
didn't, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a very long span of time that I've been able to kind of finally be like, wake up and swallow the coffee, and if what you want to do is what you want to do, then do it.
Well, what a wonderful ending to a story which could have ended badly. For you to be in this position now, that's a really good thing, isn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it's been lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Good luck with the rest of the playing. Good luck with whatever you're going to do next. I'm sure it'll be great. Ladies and gentlemen, Lindsay Lohan. Thank you, Lindsay. That was great. OK. Still to come after the break. Lindsay has to go, but Russell will still be with us. We have Daniel Radcliffe, Rio Ferdinand and the script out here performing live, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get my next guest out. He started one of the biggest film franchises in movie history, and ever since he's gone from strength to strength on screen and on stage. It's everyone's favourite wizard, Mr. Daniel Radcliffe, ladies and gentlemen.
How are you doing? Nice to meet you again. How are you? Thank you for viewing the paper today after this talk. You've offended me.
How are you, Dan? You looking good?
I'm very good. Thank you very much.
Look at
Cheers,
that.
everybody. I'm right. How are you?
I'm so pleased. I always love having you on the show. You're such a great guest.
Thank you.
It's been how many years now? It's been 3 years since the last Harry Potter movie?
3 or 4, yeah, absolutely.
3 or 4 years. Wow, that's what an incredible period of your life that was. Yeah. But I've never seen someone go from such a huge thing and be so known for something, and yet go straight into it and be accepted and enjoyed in other pursuits. You went straight into the acting on stage, you've made any number of movies. That must have been a conscious decision. That must have been, let's get out there and not get away from the character, but make sure people see that I can do other things.
Well, that's the thing. I think now there's a tendency to assume that everything that I do is a comment on what I used to do, and it's like, and it's not always like, oh, I'm finding dark stuff or stuff that's different so I can, like, shock people out of, you know, out of seeing me as Harry, because I think everyone seems to think that by me doing other things, it means I don't want to be remembered as Harry, but, like, I still love those films, and I love what they gave me and what, you know, and everything about them. But, yeah, I think you just have to... I'm not, you know, I can't play a teenage schoolboy for the rest of my life, and I would like a longer career than
that. Would be just creepy,
It would
wouldn't
be wrong.
But some of the choices you've made, you're right, it's inevitably people are going to say, oh, this seems to be him trying to put distance between what was a family kind of entertainment, and of course it isn't. But I've seen you in Equus, of course, you were in Naked Station. I saw you in was it Kill Your Darlings?
Kill Your Darlings.
Great film, but you were that full-on in that. I mean, that was a very explicit, very willing, very challenging
It wasn't
role.
that explicit. I feel like it's only called explicit because it's a sex scene between two men.
But hold it, you were lying on your back with your knees up like bloody boom, being pumped away.
But nothing was shown. There's no full frontal. There's nothing like that. In comparison
but my imagination saw everything.
Well, that's your imagination, Jonathan.
It's still there. It was magnificent. It was life-changing.
Yeah, you know, again, it's not. I'm not like getting naked, so people are like, hey, I'm not Harry Potter anymore. Harry Potter didn't get naked. You know, it's just that I don't like have a problem with it, and I'm not gonna, you know, you're not gonna do Equus and be like, oh, by the way, can I wear pants when we get to the final scene?
You can't do Equus and not get naked. That's the whole point.
And you know, when you know, it's not something. I think some people think I kind of seek it out, which is not the case
either.
Well,
do you like getting naked? That was still gonna ask you.
I mean, it's like it's all right. It's just part of your job sometimes. That's what's weird about.
Would you like to get naked now?
Not really. But that's the thing. There's always people always say like, "There's oh, how do you do it? There's any skill to it whatsoever?
Just take off your clothes." I want to ask you a sort of related Harry Potter question later on, but not for now, because I want to talk about your new movie.
Okay.
It's based on a book which came out about 2 years ago. I bought it because I love this kind of fantasy. It's written by Joe Hill. It's called Horns, an incredible story.
Yeah.
What attracted you to it? Why did you want to play this part?
Just because there really is nothing else I've ever read like this, and I'm attracted to originality, and this is a big, bold, kind of crazy movie, and it's, you know, as you see, I grow horns. Basically, it's a very hard film to sell in sort of a very short period of time, but I'll try. It's about, I play a guy called Ig, who has been kind of vilified by the whole town around him, and they think that he has murdered his girlfriend, and one day after a night of debauchery and sort of ill-advised sex with a friend, he wakes up with sort of lumps on either side of his head, and then as he's examining them closer in the mirror, it sort of a ram's horn begins to like burst through, and over the next 3 days, he's trying to figure out both why the hell he is turning into the devil and who really killed his girlfriend. It's really funny because you can't make a film with a guy with horns on his head unless you have a sense of humour about it, and it's incredibly dark, and it's like got this great love story. I know I'm trying to make it, I'm sort of making it sound like
it's a peculiar idea. Of course, you have to acknowledge that.
Oh yeah, it's weird.
Here's the clip. This is Horns. If you like kind of weird, strange, funny movies, this is one for you.
Yeah, it is.
When they looked at me, they saw a devil. And now I had to look the part.
Jesus Christ, what is on your head?
I need you to help me. Everyone in this town is going crazy. I think it's because of me and these horns.
You killed that innocent girl. Now the devil has claimed you.
Tell me everything that happened.
That's Horns. Another great performance in a movie from Daniel Radcliffe. Creepy look as well. Did people on the set, obviously most people would know you were making a movie, but did they react differently when you pop out with horns on?
People actually become used to them really quickly, kind of like they do in the film. They sort of stare at them for the first couple of minutes and then they just blend into my head. But like you know, if you have to have something stuck onto your head, they're pretty good. I mean, they look kind of cool, because when you see a line in the script that's like, and he has horns, you kind of go, well, that's great, but that could look really silly. Or...
Better than an orange.
Exactly. Or any fruit. I mean,
or any fruit.
Or any fruit.
Any fruit.
What about a couple of bananas? That would have worked, wouldn't it? Yeah. But it wasn't just the horns you had. You have to... A lot of the time, you spend... Was it a real snake you had round you?
Yes.
There was a big snake and lots of other snakes. So they were real snakes on the set?
They were real snakes. There was actually only one snake that was fake in the film. Well, there's a couple of visual effect shots, but there's one which we had to replace a real snake with a visual effect snake, because when snakes get cold, they go completely, like, they don't move.
They're saving their energy.
They're saving...
They shrink right up, don't they?
Well, they go...
It's fair, because then you get judged.
That's not the python I was expecting.
Wait, it'll warm up in a minute.
That's why I'm glad you're here, because when the moments when I pause to think of things, you can do something genuinely interesting and funny.
I've got one.
Go on.
Like, if you need to describe that film, like, there's two ways to describe it. Intellectually, you can go, oh, it's a trickster idea about the disruptive force of an interventionist character, how it can change everyone's lives. Or if you want to say something quickly and stupid, you go, oh, it's basically Horny Potter. And then, I
don't know which one you're going to go for.
Why? Daniel liked it!
Don't encourage that kind of nonsense.
He liked it!
You're with you have a partner in your life at the moment.
Yeah.
You have a young woman in your life who you met on a film set. Is that
On
right?
Pretty Darlings, yeah.
Okay, and how is that? How do you deal with the intrusion, the interest when people like me ask you about it? It's a lovely shot.
It's a lovely photo.
I've got no business asking you this, but I would ask you questions about that, as people do, because you're in the public eye.
Sure.
How do you find that? How far are you prepared to go in talking
well,
about
that's the thing. I think I used to just talk about anything. I think when you're growing up, you have no idea what is an appropriate question or not, and you assume that because someone's asking you, it must be appropriate. So you know, you just answer, and there comes a point where you're like, oh, actually, I don't need to answer these questions about my life, and I don't have to tell you, and I can keep whatever I want for me. But that takes a while to...
You're lovely.
That takes time to figure out, and you know, it doesn't come quickly.
But people must have liked how obliging you were.
Oh, they did. I'm sure they loved it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure the guy who I talked about my drinking to was like, why is he telling me this? So, yeah, I've become better at being evasive, which I don't know if that's a nice skill to have.
So, when people talk about Harry Potter, you don't mind? You don't mind me asking you
I really don't, no.
Okay.
So go ahead.
OK, because I've been to the various Harry Potter theme parks around the world.
Oh, yeah, they're good, aren't they?
There's one here in, just outside of London, Leavesden, where the Warner Brothers studio.
Yeah, that's not just the theme park, that's where we shot them.
So that's where you shot the movies.
Yeah.
Have you been there? Have you seen the display they've put on there?
I've not, no, because I wasn't here for the opening, and so there's never been, like, a good time for me to go back when it wouldn't cause some commotion or something. But maybe what I want to do, because I still film stuff at Leavesden, so hopefully I'll get to do a movie there and
go
just
back
slip
in disguise, though.
It's amazing how little disguises help, and then how ridiculous you feel once you've been found in a disguise. Yeah.
But didn't you go in the Comic-Con in San Diego, which is the big, it's not just comics, it's a big multimedia gathering now, and you were there in a disguise.
I was there in a disguise, because that was a full-body, like, mask and everything. I went as Spider-Man.
So you were wandering around as Spider-Man?
Yeah, which is kind of, I mean, it's become a bit of a tradition in Comic-Con for, like, people to go... Well, Hugh Jackman did go down as Wolverine, to be fair, so, well, that's fair play to him.
That must have made it worse.
Well, I don't know, but apparently he just got told, somebody just told him he wasn't very good as... I think too tall, I think
that's
someone
hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
If you went to the Warner Brothers place in outer London as Harry Potter, if you went as Harry Potter, they think it can't be Daniel Radcliffe, it's someone else dressed as Harry Potter, and you'd get away with it.
Maybe, or maybe it would be terrible.
OK, so great to see you again. Thank you so much for coming on. Always great to see you on screen, and always love to have you here. Daniel Radcliffe, ladies and gentlemen. OK, thank you very much. Daniel Radcliffe, the film Horns is out Wednesday. Go and see it. After the break, I'll be joined out here by Rio Ferdinand, and there'll be music from the script, and Russell and Daniel will still be here, so don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get my next guest out this evening. He has been England captain, won the Champions League and the Premier League 6 times. Hopefully he comes out and explains to me what all of that means. It is Rio Ferdinand. Russell, Daniel, Rio. You guys sit there. Rio, good to have you here.
Oh, great to be here.
Let me ask you about life generally. We were talking beforehand, and you've got 3 kids, is that right?
Yep, 3 kids.
How old are they?
8, 6 and 3. But the 3-year-old's going on 23.
Wow. OK, and the 8 and the 6-year-old, they're your 2 boys, aren't they?
Yeah, my 2 boys.
OK, so what do they get? What advice do you give young men when they look up to Dad? What do you say? What do they ask you for? What kind of guidance do you give them?
Well, the other day, my little boy, Lorenz, the oldest one, he asked for some girl advice. He said, Dad, I'm sitting next to a girl in my class. How do I go about asking her out?
Wow. Hold on, he's 8?
Yeah, he's 8.
Man, that's an early start.
And I thought, well done, son. And then I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I was sitting there going, well, when I was in school, I had a girl who sat on my left, and I didn't really ask her out, but I just said, who does she fancy? And she said, if she mentioned me, I was in. If she mentioned someone else, I'd say, I don't think he likes you. And try to play it like that, but I don't know if you got the gist of it. So I'm waiting to get a bit of feedback from how it went. I asked him, actually, yesterday morning, how did it go down at school? Have a good day? And he knew immediately what I meant. He went, I've not said anything yet, Dad. I'm not saying anything.
So he knows the code.
He knows the code, yeah.
All right, let me ask you about your career then, OK? Because Rio has a book out, and I've been reading it, and lots of things in there which I didn't expect have changed my opinion on a couple of people. It's Rio's autobiography. In particular, Alex Ferguson. He was obviously someone who knew how to handle you guys. So he's got a group of young men, young stars, all of them being paid well, all of them being asked out to go to every club in Manchester. And he managed to keep... And he had kind of interesting psychology with you, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be at the helm of such a great club for so long, I think he had to keep us ticking in many different ways. I mean, I remember the first week I was there, or the first month I was there, I got injured in the first week in the game, twisted my ankle. And I'd obviously just moved to Manchester. I was going out, as I wasn't training every day, I was going out most nights, enjoying the finer, bright lights of Manchester, going to the clubs, seeing what's what. And about a month gone, he pulled me out when I went out to train. He said, Rio, how are you enjoying Manchester? I said, yeah, it's great, boss. I've been out for a couple of meals here and there, just chilling out, really, trying to get back fit. And he went, oh, great, let's not get off on the wrong foot. Stop effing going out, and you're here to play football. If you want to keep playing football for this club, you curb, you're going out.
So did he know how much you were
Well, the problem is in Manchester is obviously smaller than London. He wouldn't have to call anyone. Everyone would call him because they want to be his mate. They all want to be Fergie's mate. So they'd call him and say, oh, Rio, I had Rio in my club the other day. Oh yeah. And then he wouldn't even have to ask questions. Oh, he was drinking this. His bill come to this probably. And
so he had a list of everywhere you'd been.
It was like the mafia.
Wow. But I guess when you first got into it, I guess it would be easy for that. I mean, when you first go and you're playing for Manchester United, it would be easy for young players to sort of get led astray. And yet you've kept fairly stable. I mean, you haven't been as crazy as most, have you? How have you managed to sort of keep a hold, to keep a grasp on things?
I got it out early. I've done it early in my career, but
yeah, West Ham.
Yeah, under Harry, yeah.
Yeah, and because you were West Ham. Well, are you still a West Ham fan?
Yeah, yeah. You can't change.
No, you can't.
and he stuck with it. So, I watched Rio when he first played for West Ham. It was like a different type of footballer. Well, I remember he was the first footballer I thought, he looks like he's got more time. That's the thing people say about great sportsmen, that they have more time, because there's a different kind of intelligence, because there's the cliche that footballers are thick and that, but the way that the game is read with certain kind of footballers, it's like it shows you there's a different understanding. It was very, very exciting. Plus, when he left the club in the right way. So he's a person that's very much beloved at West Ham.
Are you a football fan, Dan?
I've got into American football in a huge way, which is probably sacrilegious or something to say in front of you.
I like it as well.
Yeah, I've got. But yeah, I mean, I'll get into like the World Cup and other stuff like that. But I also think, but all sport, I can watch any sport pretty much, other than golf.
Do you know what's a pet hate of mine at the moment? Having kids and you go to the schools and listen to the teachers in the schools, and they always when you have kids, you'll understand this one. But it's like they play that you know about, that you're with all the time. But you know,
definitely know. They'd make a sound or something.
But when you go on to the schools and listen to the teacher speak, and they say, and you're saying to your kid, "Did you win?" And your boy goes, yeah, we won. Well, did you score? No. All right, next game you'll score then, or whatever. And your teachers are going, it's the participating that counts. And you stand there, and I just want to get the teacher and go, it's not the participating, it's winning. You've got to win. So, school teachers, can you just sort that out, please? It does my head in.
Not everyone's as good as football as you.
No, but you've got to want to be.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You've got to want to be good at it and don't accept losing. I don't think that teachers want you to be brought up and accept losing just because I participated. But that'll go into all parts of your life.
But in life, you are going to lose sometimes, so isn't it good to learn how to lose well?
No, it's not about learning to lose well, but at first you've got to not want to lose and not think that it's acceptable to lose.
Okay.
And then deal with that after.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm asking.
I get the feeling... I think Rio's just adopted Daniel. I think that was Let me ask you about when the day comes, you get the call and they say, we want you to be the England captain. How was that? How did that feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable thing. As a kid, all you do is you're playing football with your mates, wherever you grow up, and you're thinking about leading your team out, and that's England. You're thinking, England, I want to be an England player, and captain, that would be the best feeling. And to have that proposed to you and you be able to go out there and put the armband on and take the responsibility of leading your country out. And I was fortunate, I'd done that quite a few times, and then obviously got to the World Cup and I got injured, so I couldn't do it, which was disappointing. But to be able to say to my kids and grandkids in time that, yeah, I did lead my country is a fantastic thing to kind of talk about.
Do you think we can win the World Cup? Do you think, or is it going to be, you know, every 4 years we all get excited and everyone goes, here we go?
I think the FA are starting, that's why I want an FA Commission. The FA have started to kind of trying to make steps towards bringing forward a philosophy for our country. The likes of Germany, the likes of Spain had a 10, 12-year cycle where they started from the bottom and the grassroots up. And I think we've needed to do that for a long period of time, and I think we're hopefully on the track of doing that.
And do you think Roy Hodgson's the right man?
After the last World Cup, you wouldn't say so, but time will tell us.
You're being so diplomatic. Let me ask you about racism in the game, because you talk about it in the book as well, of course, and your brother was involved, very famously, in a situation with John Terry. OK, how was that for you to witness that, and what did you have to say at the time?
It was frustrating more than anything. I think if you sit there and you see your brother, which you feel was racially abused, and then you see the effect it has on him and his career, you see the effect it then has on your family, and you think to yourself, if maybe a phone call or someone coming out and saying, listen, OK, I'm sorry, or holding your hands up, could have maybe stopped it going as far as it did and for as long as it did, then the people surrounding it maybe wouldn't have been hurt, and relationships wouldn't have been hurt as well and sacrificed. And that's the biggest thing out of it. I think a lot of people's relationships are now dead in the water. Whether they can be rectified, at time will tell. But I think, as I said, I was kind of lulled into a false sense of security at the time, thinking that the game in England is great, we're OK with racism, it's not happening. But when these situations came about, it showed me, yeah, we're far from it.
Do you think that there will be a time, though, when racism isn't part of the game? Because one would hope that we were there now, but of course we obviously clearly have a way to go.
I always used to say, football's a great tool for it. To a certain extent it is, but I think it's more society's problem. I think football, you say to someone, well, your club's going to be reprimanded if racism goes on in the grounds. Well, people just stop at the gates and leave it outside. It doesn't mean that racism stops. Society, education, parenting, it's got to funnel down through that before football can have any kind of real hope of having an effect on it.
So let's talk now about where you are now. You're 35, going on 36, and you're obviously, as a professional sportsman, coming towards the end of your career there. What's going to be happening to you? When do you think you're going to call it a day?
I probably think the end of this season. I think you get to a time where you kind of start understanding your body and the strains playing football, putting your body through, going out and training every day. I've done it for so many years, but it's what I love. You'd understand all that, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But it's something I love. I will stay in football, I'm sure, in some capacity.
You'll get, I guess, well, you've already done commentating, so and you were good at that, I thought. So I think you've got that career going if you want. And presumably you've had offers, or you?
Yeah, definitely. I've signed to BT and stuff. So, and I've done stuff with BBC at the World Cup, which I really enjoyed, and it's something I'm sure I'll take up and do a bit more. But coaching as well is something. I'm doing my badges as well, and there's other bits and pieces outside of football. I'm not fearful of retirement. I'm looking forward to it. I can see some good stuff hopefully happening ahead.
Rio, it's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. The book, for someone who's not a dyed-in-the-wool football fan, I've really enjoyed it. You know, you're a thoughtful and clever man, and it was really nice to read that side of the business. So congratulations on that. Good luck with whatever comes next. I'm sure we'll all see it and all enjoy it. Rio Ferdinand, ladies and gentlemen. Join me in saying thank you to all my guests tonight. Of course, Lindsay Lohan, she had to go. We've got Russell Brand, Daniel Radcliffe and Rio Ferdinand right here. Lovely men, all of them. Next week, I'll be joined here on the show by Paul Hollywood. Keira Knightley will be here, Welsh rugby hero Gareth Thomas and Paul Merton. We'll also have music from one of the biggest upcoming bands, London Grammar. But now with No Good in Goodbye from their massive #1 album, it is, of course, The Script.
No, I missed this mistake. 'Cause every word I try to choose, either way I'm gonna lose. Can't take the ache from heartbreak. Oh, but as you walk away, you don't hear me say. Hearts, but there's no fairy farewell. No. When I see you in the street, I pray to God you don't see the side need help, and I wish you well. Oh, but as you walk away, you don't hear me say. Thank you.
And Keira Knightley's among the stars next week, joining Jonathan slightly earlier at 10. Bradley Walsh is here with a brand new show tomorrow at 7. There's fun when the kids are in charge to keep it in the family. Celebrity Juice is about to start over on ITV2 next. And on ITV Player, if you missed it this week, James Norton and Robson Green star in our brand new drama, Grantchester. You can catch up anytime on ITV Player. And catch up next with the latest ITV News.